This is the KDM Show. Right, welcome back again to KDM Show. Hope you had a nice week. Last week was good for me, and hopefully it was same for you as well, or even better. Right, this week we're going to have a look at the fourth D, the 4D as I call it. And I wanted us to go through these Ds as I explained from the first video. If you haven't watched any of D1, D2, D3, I'd really encourage you to sort of skip back and go watch D1, D2, D3. Is on my channel, and because it help you basically to follow through the series. If you just want to stick with me, that's fine. You can basically listen to this and then it'll probably encourage you to go back and look at 1, 2, 3. Right, today is D number 4 and I have dubbed it Design. So we went through D1, which was Dream, Idea. We went through D2, which was the Desire. And then we went through D3 last week, which was the decision for you to sort of move forward. So today is D number 4, which is the Design. So we're going to go through that shortly, but let's do a quote for the week today. It's sort of linked into my D series, and especially today's one. I love today's one so much because it adds a little bit of a taste to all the designs, and it's actually sat right in the center. So D number 4 will be coming right up next. But today, quote for the week. What do we say? Right. I've got it here from, it's one of Jim Rohn's quotes, and it says, "From testimonials and personal experience, we have enough information to conclude that it is possible to design and live an extraordinary life." And that is one of Jim Rohn's quote. It basically tells me that from all the years people have been in this world, there is a proven record that people can design and live an extraordinary life. So if you go through the D's I'm going through, talk about especially today's one, which is the design, it links into this one because you can design your life. You can design exactly how you want your life to be. So if you're not going to take anything away from today, just take away today that there is a proven track record that you can design and live an extraordinary life. So if you don't know it, then you listen, or if you don't know it, you can go find out what it is. So you can don't just allow life to take you by chance. Allow yourself to be able to design and live an extraordinary life. Hope that bless you. Right, D number 4, design. So what is it? What is design? I call it being able to add a special touch to how you want your life to be. Being able to plan how you want your life to be. Being able to put certain steps in place for you to be able to sort of put your life into perspective. You want to know exactly how you want your life to be. So you are going to put your special touch to it. Most of the time people just allow themselves for certain things to happen in their lives. So there isn't any foresight, there isn't any planning. They're just going by the day, assuming tomorrow comes next, it will bring in whatever it will bring in, the day after would bring in whatever it bring in. But if you want to be able to have that life, the life that you've dreamt of, the life that you so much desire, then you've got to put that touch to it. You've got to design it. You have to plan it, because without planning you wouldn't be able to build it. And I've put this one down here. It says no dream is too big or too small, but it's the how. It is the how, and it's what goes into that matters. You take 2 buildings, for example. One sophisticated one with all the flashy glazing and curtain walling and all what have you, and then you've got the standard building with, say, bricks or mortar. I'm not saying those two are uninhabitable. Yes, they are habitable. So far as there's a roof on top, you wouldn't be wet. But if you look at those 2 designs and those 2 structures, one is very, very, very posh, and the other one is, yeah, sort of normal. In that same way, you can design your life to have everything that you want to go into your life. Or you can just allow your life to go according to how the world is taking it. And that is what I'm going to talk about today, i.e. designing your life and putting what you want to put in there, so you can see your dream in perspective, i.e. have a feel of your dream on how it looks like before you actually start undertaking your steps. So my background is construction, and I love to use construction as an example. And you might be into cars, basically anything. The cupboards in our offices, the tables that we're sitting on, the chair, this microphone, this camera I'm using, everything in this world, cars, buildings, everything. They don't just decide to do it. It goes through a design phase. They go through design phase to actually understand what components needs to go in. They go through the design phase to actually understand. They want to see how it's going to look like before they actually start manufacturing it. Without designing, you won't be able to do it. I've never seen any construction where they just get up and say, "All right, let's get on the land. Let's start digging." No, you've got to do preliminary surveys. You've got to do appraisals to see what the land is, whether there's, I think I mentioned this in my dream series, the first one. So everything and we bring our life into perspective. You have to be able to plan it so you can actually put it into place. Without planning it, it's going to be very difficult. It's like you're just walking along and then things will just be coming in as you go along. It doesn't make you very proactive. But you planning your life, you designing exactly, because you've got your dream. So your dream is your end. That is your end vision you want to realize. So you having that end in place, i.e. somebody coming to you to say, "I want to build a 5-bedroom house. I want a toilet and a shower in each one. I want to have a lounge. I want to have a dining hall with a central island. I want 2 sinks. I want this and that." They are giving you the specs. They know exactly how they want their building to be. So if that is the case, then obviously they want to you want to be able to put that into some type of drawing or some type of design for them to be able to see how they want their dream to be. So in the same way, that is how it's supposed to be. You can design your life. You can put all these things into the map to know exactly, I want to do this. I want to go to uni. I want to do this course. From there, I go there. You're just mapping out your life. There's nothing wrong with that, because it gives you the foresight to help you to be able to build it well. Just living your life spontaneously doesn't really help sometimes. Well, most of the time it doesn't really help. It's like you don't really know where you're going. And yes, there will be errors along the way. But if you have that foresight in place and the errors come along, you probably even preempt the errors before they actually come in place. I'll take you through one type of procurement plan in construction. They call it a design and build. And basically design and build is when the client wants to construct something, they put out a tender, and then contractors or prospective contractors would tender for it. Their job is to design what the client wants. Most of the time they're given like preliminary designs, so i.e. a few drawing sketches to tell them this is what we want, and then the contractor will pick that up and then they will expand it. They'll do all the detailed designs to actually come up with the full structure. But the reason why the client is doing that design and build, one main reason is so they can push all the risk to the contractor. So the contractor, they have been in the industry, they know exactly what they do. So in terms of expertise, they've got the expertise. They've got either an in-house design team or an external design team. So them tendering for that design and build is a lot of risk, because the client would say, "I want a 5-bedroom on this land, and this is how I want it to look." The architect would sort of put it up together. And then the contractor will pick it up and say, "All right, you want it to look like this, we need to do this, we need to do that." Is expanding the design. Them passing the risk on to, but in our case, if we're building a dream, building a designing our own life, the risk is in our hands. There isn't anyone that you're going to pass on the risk. I know certain people in life do not take responsibility. They don't accept anything. They end up passing things on to other people, blaming their children, blaming their parents, blaming their siblings. But if you want to design a proper life for yourself, you've got to take full responsibility for you. The risk stays with you. One main major problem in construction is design. When the design is not done properly, when the detailed design is not measured properly, when it's not put out properly, once you get on site and you start building, you are going to face big problems. So all these arguments out there in the construction industry, where people are taking people to court, most of it is from design, because we rush through the design. 9 out of 10, I would say we rush through the design. When the design is done properly, when the design, I've been in the game 15 years, I've been through quite a lot of projects, and when the design is done properly during the design phase, you get less problems when you're on site actually building. But most of the time we're rushing for time, we're rushing in life, and then we rush through the design. When we rush through the design and we start building on site, that is when we realize there are problems. And then as soon as there are problems, the contractor would say, well, I didn't allow for this. Client will say, well, I thought you should have allowed for this because you're the one in the industry. And then it creates that sort of banter or argument, and claims and whatever starts kicking in. So there is a particular attention that needs to go into designing. So if you bring that into your life, designing your life, mapping out your life, knowing exactly how you want your life to be, would help you when you start progressing, because it'll make it so much easy. You would know exactly what stage or what step you take because you've already planned it out. So how do we design? Right, I've written a few steps here. I'm just going to try and explain each point so we understand exactly. It's not sophisticated. It's just a matter of you planning your course, you making sure you're attempting to design your life so you can think and grow better. You can expand from where you are. You can upscale yourself rather than staying in the same position for years and years and years. You take first one. Design is not just a matter of drawing. So you can't just sit there, take your pen and you start. No, you've got to put a lot of thought into what goes into your dream. You need to understand your dream. I've been teaching like graduates about the main components of a cost. So you take every cost, basically everything from car, construction, anything you can think of. So we're looking at construction costs, for example. Every cost, the components of that cost. There is a labor element in there. There is a plant element in there. There is a material element in there. There is a specialist element. The specialists call it subcontractors, specialists, like not the normal day-to-day stuff. So there's a specialist cost in there. Sometimes, yes, there is. Sometimes there might not be. But most of the time, there is a specialist cost in there. And then you've got the overheads and profit. So in every cost, there are 5 components: labor, plant, material, specialist, and overheads. You take your dream into perspective. If you do not understand the components in your dream, you're going to struggle to even design it in the first place. You need to understand the components in your dream for you to be able to try and design and plan it. So if I sit here and say, right, I want to be a nurse. If I just keep on saying, I want to be a nurse, without taking steps to actually design how I'm planning to become a nurse, well, the nurse certificate isn't going to just land on my table. But if I say I want to be a nurse, I've got very little knowledge about being a nurse. So what do? I've got to expand. I've got to visualize. I need to visualize myself in that nurse uniform, i.e. expanding or upscaling myself from where I am now to becoming a nurse. And just by doing that, I need to start researching because I haven't got so much information about being a nurse. So you start researching, you expand your knowledge. You need to expand your knowledge to understand the full extent of what it entails to become a nurse. Once you expand your knowledge, it would help you to really understand the steps you need to go through to become a nurse. I'm not saying there aren't risks. So whilst you're designing your life, you're designing, you're planning your dream, you're bringing your dream into perspective. Yes, you need to be noting down all these risks that there could be. There's something in construction we call the risk register. Yes, the risk register. And what we do on the risk register is, whilst you're planning to do the construction, certain things would come into mind. So, oh, let's consider this might be a risk, you could put a value to it. Let's consider this might be a risk, you could put a value to it. What you're doing is you're just covering yourself. And covering yourself in the sense that, should anything happen, should that thing that you've thought of happen on site, then it means you've already thought of it and you've allowed for something for it. But without planning, without having this risk register on the site, you're just walking blind. There is nothing that you're basically bringing into sight. So yes, you want to be a nurse. You start doing the research, as I said, and then you're planning, right, I've got to go to this university, I need this grade to do it, right, where am I now? So you assess where you are, and then you know the end, which is the nurse. You know where you are, you know the end. There is a gap in the middle. That is what you need to fill. When I do like mentorship for some of these graduates who go through to become RIC chartered surveyors, and first assessment I do is, you know yourself. I don't know you. You know yourself. You know your strengths. You know your weaknesses. What you need to do is, there are the set out competencies. These are set out by the RICs. So you pick it up. You take tendering, for example. You say, right, tendering. What experience do I have in tendering? I've actually done tendering before. You take another one, estimating. You take another one, risk management. There's so many of them. So you pick each one. You assess yourself. Do I have the full potential, the full capacity? You say, no, I don't. I haven't actually exposed myself to this competency. So you mark where you are. And then you know exactly where they want you to be, because there would be a set out criteria for you to achieve before you can get that qualification. So you know exactly where they want you to be. You know where you are, because it's you know where you are. What you start doing now is you start researching into how you're going to close the gap. Regardless of the size of the gap, don't be scared. Don't put that fear in you, whether your gap is this or your gap is that. Everyone is different. All these fingers aren't the same, you see. So you mark where you are, and then you start closing the gap. You take it one day at a time. So today you do this training, tomorrow you watch this, you do this, you did. Before you realize, that gap would have closed. By closing the gap, you put yourself in a better position to actually attain that certificate. So regardless of the dream that you've got in your mind at the minute, either you want to be a doctor, you want to be an engineer, you want to be a chartered surveyor, you want to be a nurse, you want to be a teacher, a pilot, whatever, you know exactly where you are and you know exactly what you want to become. Start closing the gap. Start talking to the right people. You don't disclose all your ideas to everybody out there. It's quite dangerous. So you start talking to the right people that would uplift you. Start researching, reading the right books, listening to the right stuff. Not everything, basically, for you to help yourself to close the gap. Take the hospital, for example. I'm talking about something called a process map. You go to a hospital, I would say basically two entrances mainly, either the accident emergency or the main entrance to a hospital. You go to reception, you tell them exactly where you want to go. They send you to where you want to go. You go to where you want to go. From there, they send you somewhere else to go to do something else. You could go to do either a test and then you come back to where it's all planned. I've never been to the hospital where you get to a position where they tell you, what next now? No, it's all planned. They know exactly what they're doing. From there, you go there. If you need a test, you go there. If you need a scan, you go there. If you need this, you go there. If you need that, you go there. That is exactly how we need to plan our lives as well. We've got to do it. It helps you. Otherwise, once somebody gets to reception, they're like, where do I go? There's a map they normally put in reception, or even in playgrounds or these big adventure places. It tells you go to big IKEA, for example. It tells you you're here. The exit is there. It's mapped it all out for you to make it easier, and that is why designing your life, designing your plan is easier. Exactly what Jim said at the beginning of the quote, as I explained to you. It's been there. People in this world have actually assessed it. They've tasted it. They've tested it, and they know exactly that there is a map and art that you can design your life and live an extraordinary life. It is possible. It is possible. There's one thing we call KPIs in construction. What do we use that for? Or it's probably used everywhere. It's just used for performance. So it's a key performance indicator. So aside your process map or the plan that you've done, you've got to have your KPI to do exactly right. When I get to this stage, this is what I'm looking for. When I get to that stage, this is what I'm looking for. And then reward yourself as you go along to basically boost your encourage you. You reward yourself as you go along. You know, rather than not planning, rather than not having any KPIs, and then you're sat there not knowing exactly what you want to do in your life. So now what next? What next? You've got to put your dream into perspective. If you've got your dream, visualize your dream. Make it happen. Make it happen. And it will happen for you. There's one thing I want to leave you with. It's called the RICS Professional and Ethical Standards. There's 5 of them in there. RRSOSIT. R, responsibility. You take responsibility for your actions. You got to be responsible. Stop blaming other people for your wrongs and your failures. You've got to take responsibility for yourself. If you did it, just own it, own up, and be responsible for your actions. The other one is respect. Well, we're walking about in this world, and some of us, I'm not included, but some people out there, they don't respect people. You know, they think they can do whatever they like in life. No, I am trying to put something in you. I want you to become a better person. Have respect for other people. You know, don't just talk to people anyhow. Have absolute respect for others. Respect yourself, and then you can respect other people. SOS, standard of service. Whatever you're doing for other people, do it to a top-notch level. You know, put a touch to it. Don't just do it anyhow. Have that standard of service. That people would go away and go, oh, Ken, yeah, I know Ken. Ken is good. I want to go back to Ken. Let people have that opinion about you, rather than just sheepishly doing stuff. No. So you put your mark on it. A high standard of service. Your I is your integrity. Let people trust you, man. Let your yes be yes, let your no be no. Let people trust you. Give them no option to distrust you. You know, let them trust you. Let your actions be right. Let your movements be right. Mingle with the right people. And then your T is the trust I was talking about. Put trust in whatever you're doing. Don't just do it anyhow. Put the trust in whatever you're doing. So I'm leaving with you today with RRSOSIT. Take responsibility, respect for others, high standard of service, integrity, and trust for whatever you're doing. Hope you had a good day and you enjoyed this session. Hopefully I'll come your way again next week for my 5th D, and it's going to be smashing. Have a good one and take care of yourself. Thank you.
This is the KDM Show.